Twitter and Facebook, and join us on the subreddit.
Yo. All right, so the next video has already popped up. So we've got at least one more video today. So let's see what we got for time. Oh, it's 8:22. That's not even bad. That is not even bad. Maybe it's because I've been watching the videos at a higher speed. Has anybody like been bothered by it? Outside of watching the ads a little bit faster, like I feel like watching it at like 1.1 or 1.2 speed doesn't really take away too much, and I'm hoping that you're cool with it because I like that I'm able to fit in more stuff into the stream comfortably. Like we've got time to get to all the videos that I want to, which I'm very happy about. So I have 2 more set up today. So you can probably see it on screen, but if you can't, because it's small, I will read it to you. We're going to be doing Native American myth, the Wendigo, the, excuse me here, Omushkigo tribe. I'm not familiar with that one. So we'll see there. By Extra Mythology, which is an offshoot of like the extra credits people who do the extra history stuff that I typically do. People have recommended Extra Mythology to me for a while, and I'm excited to check this one out. I thought this one would be cool because it's Native American mythology, something I don't get a lot of opportunity to learn about. The Wendigo is something though that I only know that through the game Until Dawn. I don't know if anybody watching has played it, but I played that game when it came out, and it is a spooky one. It is a spooky one, and one of the characters in the game is who like lives on the mountain everybody's hanging out on is Native American, and it was like talk about like him being stuff being built on land that historically belonged to his tribe and something Wendigo. And I don't fully understand what the Wendigo is. I believe in the game, it's been a while since I played, I believe in the game it was tied to cannibalism. I don't know if that actually applies to the broader thing. This could be like a vampire thing, where the game created its own little Wendigo rules, like how every vampire story has its own vampire rules. In this one, they can't go out in the sun. In this one, they can kind of go out in the sun if they wear a big hat. You know, like this one, it hurts. This one, they burst into flames. This one, they can look in mirrors. This one, there's nothing in the mirror. Yeah. Have you ever talked about Roger Williams on stream? Tons. I find every possible opportunity to talk about Roger Williams when the occasion comes up. I don't know if there will be anything here because this is it's great to bring him into the conversations about Native Americans because his relationships with them was so unique. However, we're probably not going to have any Narragansetts, no Niantics, none of the tribes that we'd be used to. I'm not sure where the Mushkigo are from. I believe, where did Until Dawn take place? It might have been in Washington, or it was on Mount Washington. I don't know if it was in Washington. I don't know. We'll see what this has to say. See if we can learn something.
Ice heart, cold flesh, the chill wind blows. Hunger, all it feels is hunger. Eyes hollow, sunken, skin pale, ashen gray, stretched taut over its straining ribs. Mouth slavering, covered in blood. It is famine. It is the hunger that should never be. And far to the north, by
the hunger that should never be. All right. I guess we are going down the cannibal route, right? Because there's no other way that could work.
BCs, it stalks the people.
extra mythology. So if we end up liking this, we might go down the mythology route a little more often. I was thinking maybe we could alternate between extra history and extra mythology, because mythology is interesting in its own right, and it tells you a lot about culture, which is very important to history.
When the bitter winds blow, and the snows come, and the game runs scarce, the craving comes to some, the desire for human flesh.
Have you ever watched Turn, Washington Spies? I tried to watch it. I think I watched 2 episodes and I couldn't really get into it. I'm willing to give it another shot. I'm aware of the book that it's based on, but I don't think I ever ended up getting all that far into that one either. I just never, I don't know why, because it seemed like the perfect thing for me to get into at the time. I was all in on the Revolution when I first became aware of the show, so I don't know.
And as this thought possesses a person, their heart becomes ice, and they turn
All right, what's up?
that scarce. The craving comes to some, the desire for human flesh. And as this thought possesses a person, their heart becomes ice, and they turn Wendigo. They forget that people are people, and not just animals to be consumed, and they become a danger to all who pass them by. So the people put out a call for warriors to do away with the cannibals. One day, a man came to them, a stranger.
So the thought of cannibalism, giving in to your cannibalistic urges, makes you a Wendigo. I don't know if Until Dawn ever showed the transformation process, if they turned before they ate, or if they ate and then they turned. Because like I always assumed that they ate and then they turned, but I don't believe it ever ended up showing them like eating flesh until they'd already taken on sort of an inhuman state. So perhaps it is the other way around.
Not from the people. And he said, "I'm here to do the job." He was Anwe the Killer, a man skilled in death. The people told him of cannibals, and he merely nodded and left. He was a meticulous, practiced killer. He was not haphazard, nor a believer merely in tales. And so he went to the woods, hid, and observed every family. Where did they go? What did they do? There was one group that stood out to him from the rest. A large clan consisting of an old man, his wife, and their 7 sons. He watched them hunt and fish and go about their lives like ordinary people. But he knew that cannibals don't simply eat human flesh. They live like everyone else until the craving comes on them.
Ooh.
They kidnap a person.
So it's like a thing where they turn and then they turn back and they blend in. That's not an angle that I was familiar with.
And carve them up, just like wild game. And once they've eaten, they think of it just as a meal, no different from any other, and go back to their ordinary lives. So he observed this family. They seemed somehow off, somehow disturbing and different to him. So he continued to watch them until at last he witnessed
Get
the
him on
aftermath
way.
of one of their meals. Finally, he was sure, and he began to dedicate all of his time to observing them, studying their patterns, and preparing his attack. He decided the old man was the weakest of them, so it would be him he would approach first. Each day, he followed the old man silently in the woods, and each day, while his sons were out hunting, the old man would check an abandoned beaver den to see if any of the beavers had returned that he might catch one for his family to eat. And when at last he was ready, Anwe snuck up and met him there. "Hello, brother," he called to the old man. You see, he used his powers to make him look not like the powerful warrior he was, but thin, frail, and hungry. The old man was surprised, but greeted him, and Anwe said, "Come, help me prepare to catch this beaver." The old man knew there was nothing in the
So he
beaver
could just-
den, but he played along, thinking that this frail man
Okay,
would be easy
so he could
for
just
the sons
transform his
to
body.
and for them to make a meal of. Then Anwe says to him, "Lend me your
And he just
poncho
turns
so
Super
that I can
Saiyan
fix the
out
hole
of
in the
nowhere.
dam. That way when the water rises, the beavers will take to their den." So the old man does this, and they both part ways, agreeing to meet there again at dawn. When the old man arrives home, he tells his sons that he met a man by the beaver den, and they gasp. They say it could be Anwe, because they'd heard that he'd been sent by the people to kill them. But the old man says, No, it couldn't possibly be him. He was nearly frozen and half-starved." His sons, though, just become more suspicious. "I don't know. Anwe's very tricky," they say. So the old man says,
They sound like they're from New York.
"At sunrise, let us go to the beaver den before sunrise and ambush him. Then he can be our meal." His sons,
Anway's walking here.
wary,
Yeah.
finally agree. So in the bitter cold that comes before dawn, they hike out to the beaver den, and once there, see a strapping man, full-muscled and strong. He calls out to them and waves them over. The sons think they should spread out and try to take him by surprise, but the old man says no. After all, he might not know that they are the cannibals. So they approach as if to help, and Anwe tells them that he and the old man will chisel a hole in the ice while the 7 sons go into the forest and get some sticks he prepared last night to use to get to the beaver. So the sons go off to retrieve the sticks, and Anwe and the old man chisel at the lake. Once they made a sizable hole, Anwe says, this
Anway throws him in,
work,"
right?
and leans down to drink. Now, the old man thinks about knifing him right there, but as he hesitates, Anwe gets back up and says to him, "You must be thirsty too. Go ahead, have a drink." Slowly,
This guy's
the
a
old
beast.
man gets down to drink, and as he does,
Merciless.
Anwe stabs him in the back and kicks his body into the hole in the ice. But all 7 sons
Dude, I'm just... Oh, but they all heard it. Okay, I thought this was going to be a thing where he picks them off one by one, but this is going to turn into a battle.
can tell that their father is dead and rush to the beaver dam. Anwe, though, put the sticks that he had sent them to fetch at all different distances, so they arrive one at a time. The first
Oh,
son
he
rushes
is
in,
picking them
Anwe
off.
dodges the charge and stabs him with his ice.
He's smart.
Then he
You would think of like this, like, I don't know if he's supposed to necessarily be a good guy. He seems like he's more like on the neutral side. Like, he's the convenient hero because the villains are so bad. Convenient hero, yeah, that sounds good.
He whirls around just in time to catch the second brother under the jaw. Right after that, the third brother shows up and tries to stab Anwe, but he is too fast and dispatches him as well. Brothers 4 and 5 quickly approach, but now Anwe has his bow, and with 1 arrow each, he dispatches them. Next comes the second youngest brother. That's number 6 for those of you keeping score at home. And this brother has true Wendigo powers. Vicious and
Nice.
cruel, he hurls branches at Anwe like javelins, but Anwe weaves between them and pins him with arrow after arrow. Each time
Seems like
shouting,
Anway's not
"Feel
struggling
what
too
you
much."
made the people feel." Finally, the Wendigo topples and Anwe is left with only 1 more. Brother number 7 is the youngest and begs Anwe for mercy. But
Anway's
Anwe
gonna
says,
eat him.
"How many times did you show mercy to the people who begged for their lives?" And the cannibal replies, "Never." And with one lightning-fast motion, Anwe slits his throat. Then, he hid the bodies and crawled into the beaver den, knowing that there was one more foe. The old man's wife would be along that evening to appraise the meat she was to cook, and as dusk began to settle in, she arrived with a train
She's gonna be the toughest one, no doubt.
of women, wives and servants of the 7 boys. Anwe called out to her to come into the beaver den, but she was too smart for that, and asked where her husband was. In the silence, it began to dawn on her what had happened. So with a mighty scream, she threw the stone mallet she tenderized the meat with at Anwe. If he had not been so supernaturally quick, it would have killed him. But instead,
Supernaturally
it merely
quick.
grazed him as he charged, and once he was upon her, he split her head open with a stone. He then cried to the women.
Like, this doesn't even seem like he struggled at all.
And many women stepped back. However, a handful of Wendigo women remained. They
Oh,
fought
really?
and fought, but finally he slew the last of them, and said to the women who had been captives, "You know what we must do."
Hey, Brian,
So they
thanks
cut
for
up the
coming in.
bodies and piled the pieces on a great bonfire, so they wouldn't come to life again. But as the bonfire roared, the hearts wouldn't burn. They just sat there, continuing to beat in the middle of the blaze, so filled with ice they were. So they gathered more wood and continued to feed the fire until the last frozen heart gave way. But that's not the end of the tale. So join us next time for our Mythology Matters segment for the history behind the Wendigo tale. Because seriously, it's gonna shock you. Now, would one of you poke the fire and make sure there's no frozen hearts in there?
So the Mythology Matters thing, it's sort of, I believe those are sort of like the lies episodes in the history thing. They give more context and stuff. So we're gonna leave it at this one. If you do want to check it out, go for it. That's your prerogative. I might check it out at a later point. But right now, I'm gonna call it there. That was rad. Hold on. Help us make more. Thanks for watching. And there's the Patreon stuff. Cool. So, like I said, I might add one of these to stream every once in a while.